Strangers, believe me when I say, loving me is loving danger. Your heart is bound to break. I walk alone in the night, neath the pale moon. Loving's for the fools. Baby, beware of my body. I'm alone, I'm alone, I'm a lone wolf. 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 I'm a creeping through the shadows and the corners of your mind. I go with the wind blows. I run but I don't hide. I hear the call of the wild, whispering the name. No, I can't be tamed. My heart belongs to the night. I'm alone, I'm alone, I'm a lone wolf. 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 I'm a
Alright guys, so we're just wrapping up here, just sending out a few messages, a few tweets, so enjoy the memes while you can. Apart from that, everybody, I'm joined by Satellite. Say hello, Satellite.
Hey, g'day everyone.
Sorry about late, it's my fault. I slept in and then I've been doing research for this Cohen story for the past hour. It's like, holy shit, this is a rabbit hole that never goes off. Never goes away. So we are going to talk about Cohen testimony. We're going to talk about women smearing menstrual blood on their faces. We're going to talk about the Olympics, and we're going to talk about Alex Jones. But we might actually do a separate thing regarding Alex Jones. So, yeah, that might happen actually. Might happen tonight.
There was so much in that. It would probably, we'd have to do a dedicated stream or video, whatever, for that. That was incredible.
So if you want to talk about it for 5 minutes and everything, well, I'll get it all set up. Let's do that. First of all, sort of Joe's redeemed himself a little bit, in my eyes, with the whole Jack Dorsey thing. I really was aboard the whole Joe Rogan's opposition stream now. But with what happened with Alex and everything like that, getting Alex on the show, I don't know. I'm a little bit more...
Apparently, Eddie Bravo was instrumental in that. Yeah, apparently, I mean, you watch the same stream, you know that. Yeah. Like, he was saying, like, he got them to talk to each other.
Yeah.
And then they were both basically discussing in the beginning how the problem really was that they weren't talking to each other. Once they spoke, everything went away. It's like, and it reinforces the fact that Alex Jones really is just, you know, a hyperbolic guy. He, you know, that video he put out where I'm going to destroy you, blah blah blah. It's like, man, we know you're half actor, half serious.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, he's a TV personality. He's got to be interesting, because otherwise, then look, no one's going to tune in to watch. So we get that. And at the end of the day, I'm not criticizing or saying there's a problem with it or anything like that. I think it's a good thing. But yeah, at the end of the day, if you go taking Alex Jones literally, then he's going to come off as a batshit crazy person. But if you sit there and actually go through and actually listen to what he says, and like there were a lot of red pills in that whole thing. Oh yeah.
And not only was it the red pills, but I just love how Joe Rogan was just enjoying every second of Alex Jones, just whenever Alex would just spurg and just go nuts. He fell off his chair at one point.
Yeah.
He was on the floor.
Yeah, I saw that. It was actually quite funny, actually. But that's what I say. Look, at the end of the day, the stream itself, like the content that was in it itself, the actual stuff that was in the stream, was hugely important, hugely impactful.
I was when I got up this morning, the first thing I looked up a little bit was the adrenochrome stuff, and I was just I don't even know if I can even talk about that stuff on YouTube. Like, seriously.
Like, he was... Well, we're probably going to do it tonight, but... I was going to say, but he was dropping, like, red pills. Like, dude, he was dropping them like fucking candy.
Yeah.
And, like, going on about, like, the whole STD and these people were deliberately infected with these sort of STDs and stuff. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know about that stuff. And, like, I try and keep on top of everything.
No, there was a lot of stuff. There was a lot of stuff he was dropping on Joe Rogan's podcast that I don't think he ever dropped on his own show. Or maybe he did. I mean, I don't know. There's millions of hours of content on Alex Jones at this point. It's kind of hard to know for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, look at his show. You know, he goes for 4 hours every day, sort of thing. And
I think he just condensed it.
Yeah,
he condensed it into that 5 hour stream. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, 5 hours and 40 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah, and they hit. No joke. They hit. I think that the peak was 180 to 185,000 live viewers.
Well, have you seen the views for it now?
I didn't even know that YouTube could handle that.
Well, have you seen the views for it now?
Yeah. Well, I actually was refreshing it at one point last night when I was just typing in Discord, and it was 1.9, and then like a minute later I refreshed it, it was 2.1. I was like, what the fuck?
So I'll tell you now.
It's just 200,000 views in that minute.
Right, Alex Jones Returns has had 3.8 million views already. And it's been up for about a day. Right, this is...
Yeah, you know what's interesting? Dr. Phil had a huge amount of views, and Dr. Phil was dropping red pills too. It's just incredible that he has Dr. Phil, and then he has Alex Jones the day after, and it's just like 6 hours of red pill content. It's amazing.
Like, Dr. Phil had 1.8 million viewers, but like Alex Jones, dude, Alex Jones is basically add an extra 2 million. Yeah, add an extra 2 million to that. And you got the same as what Dr. Phil had. Like, this is probably his biggest podcast that he's had in, like, I was going to say in months from what I can see here. Like, he's had a few shows that hit the 1.6 million, stuff like that, 1.3. But I've never seen anything where it's like over 3 million views. Like, this is an absolute huge podcast for Joe Rogan. Whether you like Alex Jones or not, the man has a following.
No. Look, I like Alex Jones when he's like when he did this thing on like Joe Rogan or when he goes on shows and podcasts. My problem with him is sometimes when he's on his own show, he interrupts guests like crazy, and he just goes on these long rants that I don't know. He can come across a bit shilly a little bit. Yeah. He does carry on a bit like a fool, but what he did on Joe Rogan was like it redeems everything and anything to do with both those guys. And Eddie Bravo was fantastic on that as well. I mean, shout out to Eddie Bravo on that too.
What's with the Eddie being a flat earther?
Yeah, he's been a flat earther forever. Yeah.
Has he? Oh God! If I ever go on Joe Rogan's podcast, I'm going to so Eddie about that. But anyway, all right. Let's jump into it. Let's go through and deal with this shit stain of the news, because it is what we're actually here to discuss. But yeah, guys, we are talking.
There is an absolute metric ton of literal lies and fake news going on. And I don't know if we have time to cover it, but we will try.
To go through and to break this all down and actually go through it and actually talk about all the lies and everything that they're putting right now is a load of crap. It's you wouldn't be able to do it. Not in like a day stream. It's just rehashing of old shit over and over and trying to pass it off as new. But let's jump into it.
That's it. Yeah, that's what they're basically doing. It's like going through it. I'm like, this is from like 2 years ago. This is from like a year ago. And so they're just rehashing it as if and saying that it's current.
Yeah.
And but not only that, but they've been opening up the floodgates, attacking YouTubers the last couple of days. What the hell, man?
Mm. Yeah, well...
Anyway, let's
jump into it. Cohen, Trump is racist comment and a cheat, says a comment and a cheat. Okay, we'll take your word for it, I suppose. During his opening statements before the House Oversight Committee on Wednesday, former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen blasted the president as a racist, a comment, and a cheater, and accused the president of knowing about the release of the hacked DNC emails ahead of time, reimbursing him for hush money payments to cover up his affair with Stormy Daniels, and indirectly telling him to lie about the Trump Tower Moscow project. Cohen said, "I know what Mr. Trump is. He's a racist, he's a con-man, he's a cheat." He continued, "It was presidential candidate who knew that Roger Stone was talking with Julian Assange about WikiLeaks drop of the Democratic National Committee emails." So, let's get the first thing and the easiest thing over and done with pretty much instantly, right? He turns around and he says that hush money for Stormy Daniels. I don't care. I do not care I do not care if Trump was boning a porn star. At the end of the day, if Trump is banging a porn star, good on him.
As long as he's not doing it while he's married.
Well, he was at the time, but like I say, look, at the end of the day, you know, look, relationships, yeah, obviously cheating's not good. I'm not saying it is. But this is, I didn't care when Bill Clinton was cigar banging Monica Lewinsky. I don't care where Trump is doing it. Okay, it's not a partisan thing, as people might suspect or claim. It's just the fact that I do not care how the President of the United States gets his rocks off. To me, I do not give two shits.
And I also suspect that his wife already knew all about it because she never said anything, commented.
Oh, I don't think she did.
Maybe. Well, okay. Well, there wasn't any fiasco around his marriage when this stuff was happening, so I'm sure that...
Remember the time when he went to hold her hand and she swatted away from him?
Oh, yeah. Okay. But that was the only thing. Was that the worst of it? Because, I mean, it wasn't like there was a divorce or a big, you know...
They could be keeping up appearances to... Yeah.
I suppose.
But like I say, look, at the end of the day, look, as for him banging porn stars, I don't care. I don't really give two shits, to be honest. Like, if that's the worst thing that you've got Trump doing or going on about, is him banging porn stars, I don't give a shit. I really don't care. Like...
Yeah, it doesn't connect to his duties as a president. No. It does connect to his duties as a role model, as a president, but not as in the duties, you know.
I still don't care. I don't care when Bill Clinton is banging Monica Lewinsky, and I don't care when Trump is doing it. To me, he's a president of America, and to me, he has far more responsibilities that I worry about, like, for example, not blowing up countries. And this is what I used to say, for example, you know, that with Bush, you know, Bush went through and at that time put more holes in countries than we can possibly point his stick at. Obviously, Barack Obama was even worse than that, but regardless. But I was going to say, but Bush was a terrible president when it comes to wars, the Iraq invasion, stuff like that. So what I was going to say is, and I said this to many people at the time, and then anybody that knew me back then can testify, that, look, at the end of the day, with Bill Clinton, him banging Monica Lewinsky, you had Bush, who got his rocks off blowing up countries. You got Bill Clinton, who got his rocks off blowing interns. To me, the world is a safer place with Bill Clinton blowing an intern than blowing up Iraq. But
yeah, I agree with you.
That's how I feel. Look at the end of the day, and this is not a partisan thing. I don't think Bill Clinton was a good president. He was a Democrat, and I sure as shit wouldn't have supported him now. Knowing everything that I know now. But look, I say that this is not a partisan thing. This is me just simply saying I do not care about Trump banging porn stars. I do not give a shit. I really do not care about it. Obviously, the other stuff that they're claiming, if it's true, then that's bad. But I have some serious doubts about it. And obviously, we're going to get into that now. But as for him banging these porn stars, shit, man, if I was a billionaire, I'd probably be a porn star or two. It's a good thing to tick off your bucket list, I suppose. But, I don't know. You know. So, as for Trump being a racist, obviously the Democrats have tried to tout this line. More black women work for Trump than any other president in the United States of America at the moment. He has people that have gone through and that are literally black who work for him. He has a history of receiving accolades and awards from the minority communities. He received the award from the black community before he was president. I can't remember what the award was, but he's some peace award or something like that. You know, look, at the end of the day, Trump has a lot of accolades when it comes to the black community. And also you got to remember too is that, look, at the end of the day, I don't really think Trump's a racist. To me, what Michael Cohen is basically saying here, this is more a case of so I've got to be careful what I say here because I don't want to get myself sued. I don't think these talking points are Cohen's necessarily talking points. I think a lot of these talking points that Cohen is saying right now have been given to him, maybe, so that he can go through and receive a lighter sentence. It's more a case of, hey, Michael, we want Trump gone. You give us our talking points. You go through and say these things. We're going to blow it up in the media. And then at the end of the day, we'll give you a lighter sentence. Now, whether they actually go through and whether that actually happened, that would be my assumption. Because a lot of what he's saying here is the Democrat talking points that we've heard over the past few years. And a lot of it has already been debunked. But why are they rehashing old news? Why are they going on about old stuff that's already gone through and been already debunked? To me, it just seems like they're trying to put stuff in the news cycle to revitalize it because, well, we've got to have something. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's. I wonder if this is a distraction.
What are they distracting from? Joe Rogan, you mean?
Maybe. They could be trying to distract from like several things. I mean, I know that they don't want coverage on the Venezuela thing. I mean, there's also the thing going on between India and Pakistan. They probably don't want any attention on that.
Yeah.
Because the MSM isn't talking about it. You know. They'd rather rehash a bunch of old crap than report on the fact that India and Pakistan were just about ready to go to war.
Yeah, we're actually going to talk about that.
I don't know what the hell is going on with the media at the moment. This is just... I woke up today, I saw all this, and I was just like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, and it's sort of like all the news today. Like, obviously, we were supposed to have done yesterday's show, and I might have slept in on that one. But what I was going to say was, it seems like a lot of the news today is the same shit that we were supposed to deal with yesterday. It's like, what? There's no real news today. It's like the news headlines are all Michael Cohen. It's like, great, but you were talking about that yesterday, and guess what? It still was remarkably unimpressive then. But let's jump into what he's actually said, because this is what's interesting. He continued, he was a presidential candidate who knew that Roger Stone was talking with Julian Assange about WikiLeaks drop of Democrat National Committee emails. Okay, so Roger Stone has since then come out, and it's always as low as it can go. I was loading a web page, that's why it was stuffing up. But yeah, Michael. What I was going to say was Roger Stone has gone through and came out and said that he lied about his interaction with Julian Assange. He's admitted that he lied to prosecutors or to the feds about that, and that he has had no knowledge of the previous leaks when it comes to WikiLeaks. Julian Assange has also said the exact same thing, that at the end of the day, they have had previous knowledge of any leaks or anything that's going to be coming out in the future. And when he turns around, and his argument for this was that Trump was in a meeting with Cohen and a few others. Roger Stone rang. He put Roger Stone on speakerphone. Obviously, that was conveniently. And Roger Stone then admitted over the phone that he has been in talks and that WikiLeaks is going to be dropping emails on Hillary Clinton in the next few days. But in this, I don't hear him mention date or times. I don't hear him give out specific dates, which is obviously really convenient because, okay, what date did you hear this? Would have been my first question. What date did you hear Roger Stone talk to Trump about Hillary Clinton and these emails from WikiLeaks? But he never mentioned
as I said when we were discussing this earlier, you need a proper journalism needs to establish a timeline.
Yeah.
You need to say when things happen, and citation needed.
And also, let's face it, he is going on about he's proof of this, mind you, is Roger Stone told him. Well, okay, look, I like Roger Stone, I really do. I think he's a lovable rogue, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't go believing Roger Stone on about half the shit he says, especially when he was trying to be Trump's right-hand man, so to speak, right? He was trying to set himself up, or was setting himself up, or was set up, so that he was Trump's right-hand man. And at the end of the day, is it possible that Stone has gone through and lied about this to inflate this? Hell yeah! If anybody thinks that didn't happen, what are you doing, eh? Yeah, I really do think that Cohen, for example, if he did hear this conversation, sure, let's say he's honest. Let's say at the moment that he was in a meeting and he did hear Roger Stone saying this to Trump. That still doesn't prove that Stone was in collusion with Russia or WikiLeaks or anything like that. This just means that Stone was inflating his own ego. We don't have dates, we don't have times, we have someone who has a history of lying about this situation in the past, possibly lying about the situation in the past. Why is it that I'm the only person, or one of the very few people, that turns around and that's seemingly saying that this does not make sense? That when you get, for example, Stone going on about WikiLeaks, for example, that at the end of the day, he might be bullshitting through his ass. Yeah. And then in the whole Tower of Moscow project, my understanding is that that's all been debunked. That this Tower of Moscow project is, well, a load of crap. As far as I know, anyway.
The media likes to... Yeah, I've noticed too, the media, they're not just rehashing crap, but they're rehashing debunked crap. It's almost as if they're operating under the procedure that if you say a lie enough times, people will start to believe it.
Well, that does actually happen. That is something that the media does.
Yeah.
Like, for example, like the whole Covington situation. You gonna tell me that these journalists didn't know this Covington situation wasn't what they were reporting? Of course they freaking did.
Yeah, it's just something about Covington. Alex mentioned how, and just so did Joe, how they like to organize events across the street from each other. And I was saying, maybe 2 weeks ago on one of our NPR streams, that I thought that it was weird that there were these three groups at this place at this time, at the same time. I just thought that was odd. It's almost like they organized to put these things together to create chaos.
Like back in November the 30th of 2018.
And that's the thing.
So I was going to say, back in November 30th, 2018, they actually went through. I found this article, so let me talk about this for a sec. Michael Cohen has admitted or confessed to lying about the Trump Tower Moscow deal. So, the surprise plea agreement with President Donald Trump's former lawyer made clear that prosecutors believe that Michael Cohen was continuing to pursue the Trump Tower Moscow project weeks after his boss had clinched the Republican for the presidential, while investigations believe Russians were meddling in the election, which they weren't. Cohen confessed in his guilty plea that he had lied to the Congress about the Moscow real estate deal he pursued on Trump's behalf during the heat of the 2016 Republican campaign. Now, he says that he pursued it on behalf of Trump's deal, right? Now, Cohen said he discussed the proposal with Trump on multiple occasions with a member of the Trump's president's family, according to documents filed by Supreme Court, blah, 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 blah. There is no clear link in the court filings between Cohen's lie and Mueller's central question of whether Trump campaign colluded with Russia. Like, at the end of the day, this all they've got out of this whole testimony is a whole bunch of circumstantial stuff. Oh, okay, a deal with Russia to get a hotel built. I think it was a hotel or something like that. But as far as I know, it hasn't gone through. The deal never went through, right? So, what? Trump went through, made a deal with the Russians to build a hotel. Okay, he's a real estate guy. Whoop-de-doo. And what? That was supposedly about him and Russia? And I don't know. It's like, really? It just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are a whole lot of baloney. And I also noticed in that little video that was playing there, they had a thing up in quotes. I have fear of Trump, trying to beg fear out of people because, you know, that riles people up, fear, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, look, obviously the whole Trump is a racist, they went on claiming that, you know, that Trump was driving through these black neighborhoods and he claimed that black voters were stupid and blah, 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 blah. Well, that was actually a Hillary thing. Not a Trump thing. Hillary Clinton thinks black people are stupid, and it's an old clip.
It's an old Hillary clip from years ago. I think probably I think it's before she was running, I believe.
Yeah. So is there any wonder that everyone hates this woman? Hillary is racist. The only way that she wants the black vote so she can be elected. Blah 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 blah. According to this article, anyway. What was Hillary Clinton ever done to the black community? Yeah, okay. There's not a lot of information on the clip. But at the end of the day, according to that, however, just days before Miss Clinton was poorly attempted color people joke. So Clinton, white America needs to do a much better job of listening when African Americans talk about this scene of unseen barriers that you face every day. We need to recognize our privilege and practice humanity rather than assume our experience everyone else's experience. I love that Democrats have a special obligation if we're going to ask the African Americans to vote for us. We cannot take you or your vote for granted. We just can't show up at the election next time and say right things. It's enough. On Wednesday, Hillary Clinton advised a race relations at Al Sharpton's National Action Network convention, and is Sharpton the one that was literally made to fame over a fake hate crime? I thought it was. But yeah, so look, this whole Hillary Clinton, black people are stupid thing, that's actually Hillary Clinton. That's not a Trump thing. So, yeah, like, I don't know. Everybody's going on about, oh my God, you know, Cohen sunk Trump, and I'm like, if you're looking at anything that he's actually gone through and he's said in this, well, for a start, he might have perjured himself, so, you know, that's going to be interesting. But at the end of the day, not a lot was mentioned that actually was credible. It was all hearsay, she says, he says, or words, you know, it was all mixed. It was just all first-hand reports, sure, but there was not a lot of evidence to back it up. Like, you know, he provided the check for Stormy Daniels. Well, like I've said, I really don't care Trump banging a porn star. I really don't give two shits. You know, like, the only evidence you supplied on this whole day, as far as I can tell, that was anything meaningful, was the checks about him banging a porn star. Well done, Trump. You slept with a couple of porn stars, dude. Check it off your bucket list, because you've done it. Now, get on to running the country. And do a good job doing that, because I don't care what you did 10, 20 years ago. That's my reaction on this thing. But, I don't know. What final thoughts, I suppose?
Yeah. Pretty much you said it.
Yeah. So the Florida bar investigating Republican Matt Gizzi's for Cohen treat, because obviously right before the hearing, Matt Derez, I'm getting that name wrong. Hey, at Mike Cohen 212, did your wife, father-in-law know about your girlfriends? Maybe tonight would be a good time for that chat. I wonder if she'll remain faithful when you're in prison. She's about to learn a lot. To me, people are claiming that this is a threat. Maybe, if you want to go that far, maybe a threat. But at the end of the day, to me, this is more about him basically turning around saying, dude, you're going to get wrecked tomorrow. Like, this is... It's like, oh my God, he said this. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. There's nothing, as far as I know, that's in this that breaks the law. I really don't see a... Look, is it a nice thing to say? Probably no. Turning around saying your wife's going to leave you tomorrow when you find out about all your mistresses, probably not a nice thing to say. Shit, guess what? Politics is dirty.
It's okay to be mean, though.
Well, yeah. It's Michael Cohen too. So there's a little bit of hard feelings between the Trumpsters and Mike Cohen, right? Not excusing it, but just saying. But at the end of the day, I don't think this is investigating, or I don't think this is worthy of an investigation by the Florida Bar Association. Mind you, this is also the same Florida Bar Association, or the Bar Association at least, that has come out with anti-Trump stuff in the past. So it's not like the Bar Association is completely innocent on this. My understanding is that they have been pretty partisan throughout this whole thing. Yeah, so to me, I think this is... I think this is a something the media is trying to make out. I don't know. Yeah, just...
It's basically a non-controversy.
Yeah, it's another non-controversy. Yeah, you said it right there. Yeah. Like, this is obviously they've opened the probe into the congressman for obviously Trump and stuff like that, which everybody wants to talk about right now. But also last year, didn't they do something regarding someone else? It was a Trumpster. I'm just trying to find it now. I remember something coming up about that. No, I can't see it. I can't remember what it was. But yeah, everybody's just talking about freaking Cohen's testimony. But yeah, but anyway, yeah, like I say, I really don't think this tweet is as bad as everybody says. Now, obviously, the Republican lawmakers are asking Justice Department to investigate Cohen for perjury, which I would fully support, to be honest. The two of President Donald Trump's closest allies on the House Oversight Committee referred Trump's former personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, to the Justice Department Thursday for possible and criminal prosecution, claiming to have evidence that Cohen committed perjury and knowingly made false statements to lawmakers during the long day testimony Wednesday. The criminal referral sent by Ohio Republican Jim Jordan and top Democrat on the Oversight Committee and North Carolina Republican Mark Meadows outlined several areas of the testimony they urged the Justice Department to investigate, including Cohen's claims Wednesday that he did not seek a job in the Trump White House. This denial of committing bank fraud, as well as his assertion that he did not have any reportable contracts with foreign entities, which I think is well known to be a load of crap, isn't it? I was extremely proud to be the personal attorney for the President of the United States, Cohen told lawmakers. I did not want to go to the White House. The White House thing to me is nothing really. Nothing. It's insignificant. But at the end of the day, as for the rest of the stuff, like, for example, him claiming about WikiLeaks and stuff like that, to me, that is something that is obviously, yeah, that would be something that needs to investigate. And look, at the end of the day, show it to the investigators. If they find something, they find something. If they don't, then he's cleared. Then, well, he's still going to go to jail for the rest of the stuff he's already done anyway. So, but yeah. Apart from that, I don't know. What are your thoughts? Do you reckon he should be investigated, or?
Well, you know, as long as the people who are looking into it, you know, they're honest and think that there might actually be something there worth investigating, yeah, sure. I mean, if there's something bad there to look at, they should do it, and he should be prosecuted for it.
If they find anything, yeah, true, yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, the celebrities have come out and
swamp, man.
Well, yeah, exactly. Now, celebrities have now come out and, yeah, apparently Michael Cohen is their best man ever, because, you know, he's an anti-Trumper. Alec Baldwin has now claims that Michael Cohen deserves a Medal of Honor. Fucking seriously? Yeah, let's go giving a guy who testified against the president a Medal of Honor that's normally reserved for fucking war medals. But anyway. Actor Alec Baldwin said former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen deserves a Congressional Medal of Honor for his appearance before Congressional Committee on Wednesday. This is the same guy that they hated 3, 6, 12 months ago. But all of a sudden, because he's jumped over to their side, he's the best man ever now. Like, Jesus Christ, these Democrats change their opinion on people solely on political points, don't they? The furious anti-Trump actor said that he didn't know... Sorry.
Well, the reason for that is because these people, especially in the media, they live in the moment. You know, they don't have a memory. That they seem to just live in the moment. Whatever gets clicks, whatever gets controversy in the here and now. And that's one of the biggest problems. And, you know, consistency is not one of their strong points.
Well, Alec Baldwin has come out and said, I don't know if Michael Cohen is truthful, but you want to give him the fucking Medal of Honor, you dipshit. But anyway, but Alec Baldwin tweeted on Wednesday, if he is, he should get the Congressional Medal of Honor for finally moving us towards the end of this nightmare. Like, holy fucking God. Seriously, is this... Like, wow. Like, Jesus Christ. I don't know. Yeah. You're an idiot, Baldwin. Cohen admits Democrats set up his hearing... this is interesting. Implicates Schiff and Cummings along with his attorney, Lenny Davis. So, yeah, President Donald Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, is testifying before the House Oversight Committee on Wednesday morning as the Republican president holds high-level peace talks with North Korea and Vietnam. This is obviously a couple of days old, but we're rehashing on it because it's important. Hey, G. Cole, how are you, man? Cohen told the House committee Trump had advanced knowing of the plans to use the Democrat emails, which is what I obviously talked about. Cohen has also told Congress that President Trump has a history of racism. Okay, whatever. So Cohen implicated Representatives Cummings.
I'm kind of sick of them going on about him being a racist. I'd love for just one of these publications to actually do... here's a headline they could do. Trump is a racist, and here's why, and have factual, proper evidence. I'd like to see that.
But they know they can't do that because it's not true.
Well, that's sort of the point I'm getting at, but I mean, it would just be nice if they'd actually prove it for once, you know?
But at the end of the day, you're asking the mainstream media to be honest.
Just saying. Oh, dear Lord.
Like, it's sad. It is really sad that literally just came out of my mouth. That we are, quote, waiting for mainstream media to be honest. That in itself is a fucking sad state of reality. But the fact of the matter is that we do not have journalists anymore, and I think it's Tim Pool that says this. We have political activists, and they are running the news publications. Now,
yes.
I'm not saying I'm better. Obviously, you know, I like to think I'm an activist too. But at the end of the day, when it comes to this news, I'm using both left and right sources here.
No, you're an activist for the truth.
Yeah, exactly. Like, for example, I've literally gone through, and as we're talking about this, I've referenced the Gateway Pundit, Breitbart, CNN, Right-Wing News, Breitbart, and Breitbart. Like, there is a mixture of articles that we're talking about here. Like, Phil DeFranco, and this is one thing that bugs me about Phil DeFranco. He only uses left-wing sources.
That's right.
Like this whole Josie Smollett situation, for example, touching on that for 5 seconds. We were calling bullshit on that long before anybody long before Phil DeFranco was. Like a good week before Phil DeFranco even heard about it being a hoax. And the reason being is because the only reason he talked about it was because the mainstream media on the left started talking about it being a hoax after the countless videos that everybody on the conservative side was making, on the countless articles everybody on the conservative side was saying that this is a hoax. They literally had to bend the knee because of the amount of volume that was coming out regarding this being a fake hate crime.
Although, I might mention that Ellen Page, about the Smollett thing, she actually came out and responded to this, saying she does not apologize for it, and, you know, I'll just boil it down. Basically, it started a conversation, and you know, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I saw her response, and it made me feel like going out and just playing in traffic. Like, I was like, how are you this stupid? It doesn't... Her response was, paraphrasing, basically was like you said. It doesn't really matter. It's good because it started the conversation and there's racism in America. If there's racism in America, why the fuck are you having to go through and to fake it? If racism is such a real problem over in the United States of America, why are they having to fake so many freaking hate crimes? Because at the end of the day...
Yeah, that's a good question, actually.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, this sort of makes me sit there and think, okay, maybe there's not so many hate crimes. Maybe the supply and the demand isn't quite there. Maybe there's a huge supply for fake hate crimes and the demand just ain't happening, so they're having to fake it to make the supply. But hey, don't worry, racism is real. I can't prove it because, well, every time we do, it's fake. But, fucking media. I hate them so much. J. Cole says, oh, Philly Dave slipped into the propaganda party. I stopped watching him a few months ago. Yeah, me too, man. J. Cole, around the same time.
Same.
Yeah,
the guy I've stopped watching anything he puts out. I unsubscribed and everything.
I haven't unsubscribed because I like to see what he's talking about, because obviously headlines. But I was going to say, but yeah, I do think he is. I do think he is being influenced. Willingly or unwillingly, I don't know, but I do think that he will be a major role when it comes to this 2020 election. I think he is going to be pushing the Democratic Party very, very hard. But anyway, but let's keep going with this. But yeah, so look, at the end of the day, obviously, you know, look at that. I do find it very, very interesting that Cohen is testifying, claiming that the Democrats had actually, quote, set up his hearing. That to me is sort of proving that there's more to it than what we know. This is more of a for example, a partisan thing and a partisan attack. But yeah, to me, I found that very, very interesting. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Final thoughts?
Well, I think we'll just need to check up on this in a few days and report on the update.
Yeah. Jeffrey says in chat, hate real.
More will come in.
Jeffrey says in chat, hate real. Jeffrey says in chat, hate brackets real, going wrong direction. Yeah, there is a lot of hate going in the opposite direction. People being attacked on campuses for wearing mega hats. People that were even during the election were dragged out of the car in the streets and beaten because of Trump supporting and stuff like that. There is a lot of hate that is going against the Conservatives. I actually do have a theory about this. And okay, so hear me out on this theory. Liberal women, for example, and this is the major Democratic Party, they're known for the whole cat, like like living alone with cat piss sort of comments, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you listen to Joe Rogan when he was talking about these worms that the cats have, and that these
Yes, I did hear that. That was that was one of the times when I was nearly on the floor laughing. It was the worm. Oh my god, what's the name of the disease again?
They did say it in the article. This is obviously something we'll be talking about later tonight. But I was going to say, but at the end of the day, that made me think, holy shit, maybe these left lunatics, maybe it's not necessarily their fault. Maybe it is actually a mental condition.
No, I'm sorry. Sometimes in Discord, you're lagging out so much that I've noticed that after a while, you basically end up about 3 or 4 seconds behind. What I'm hearing is late, and then suddenly it just skips ahead, and I miss maybe 2 seconds of what you're saying. It's been doing it for a while now. It's getting worse.
Alright, so I've just dropped it down, the quality down a bit. But what I was going to say was, as for these, is this any better? Can you hear me now?
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, sure. Let me know. But what I was going to say was these left lunatics, these Trump derangement syndromes, right? These people have a history of, or they'll have a stereotype of being at home with the cat piss. You know, these single women who are, you know, cat lovers and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get the worm in their head. It's like a disease, and it causes psychosis, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, it causes them to be erratic, to be risk-takey, all this sort of stuff. I wonder if you went through and got a whole bunch of progressives, and you went through and actually did a scan, how many of them would actually have this condition, have this psychosis?
There seems to be no cure.
No.
From what I understand.
Hmm.
And I think that Mark Dice is like, liberalism find a cure. I'm sorry, I don't think there is one.
You think he might be something? He might be sort of hinting at something else.
Sorry, what did you say?
You think he might be hinting at something else? You might be thinking he might be subtly hinting at this liberalism is because of this cat piss and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think you said that Alex Jones is here. Liberalism bringing on the destruction of society. It's actually because of this condition. That does make sense. It does make sense now that if you put it in that framing, I can actually follow, because I think some of the conditions that these parasites do is cause suicide of the host. And risky behavior.
Risky behavior is definitely
things. Yeah, in our minds, things that would destroy the nation would be a lot of liberal talking points. So for us because suicide is very difficult for us to manufacture as a natural thing, you'd have to do it on a scale.
Well, the suicide.
If you follow what I mean.
Yeah, I don't think the suicide thing. I get what you mean. I don't think it's that to that extent. I don't think the parasite has that sort of control. But what I would say that the erratic behavior, the psychosis and everything that it causes, could be enough to form Trump derangement syndrome. And it could be just the fact that this psychosis that is forming because of this parasite is literally pushing them more to the far left. So it mightn't be causing them to kill themselves through destruction of society, but it could be enough to go through and actually make it so that, for example, they are so fucked up mentally that they have Trump derangement syndrome. And
yeah, but make no mistake, a lot of their actions are leading to an end game.
Yeah, but that could be social
not a
programming.
good end game. It's a very terrible one.
That could be social programming, not necessarily the worm, so to speak, or the parasite.
Sure. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
But anyway, that's something we'll have to look into. But we'll do.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm doing the best that I can with the issues with the voice. I'm doing my best. I'm sorry.
Is it still playing up? Is it?
Yeah, it is. Basically, I listen to what you're saying. It's a little bit difficult, and then you'll basically skip forward a whole bunch, and I'm missing 2 to 3 seconds of what you say at a time.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Look, guys, I can't do anything about my internet. I really can't. I've got the bit rate down to like 400 and something at the moment. Anything lower than that, and it's just going to be a fucking audio stream. There's nothing I can do about it, really. So it's frustrating. It really
No,
is frustrating.
it's okay.
For
I
me.
understand.
Yeah, like I don't know. I can go and try and wax my modem, make it go faster, but I don't think that's gonna work. There's nothing I can do. But Oklahoma governor signs bill eliminating concealed carry permit. So Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stift, I'm getting that name wrong. Republican signed legislation Wednesday to abolish his state's concealed carry permit. Oklahoma joins Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, Idaho, Kansas, Maine, Mississippi, Missouri, and New Hampshire, North Dakota, South Dakota, and West Virginia, Wyoming, and Vermont as the 15th state to declare the Second Amendment is an alternative carry permit. On Wednesday the 14th, Breitbart News reported that Oklahoma was on the verge of abolishing its carry permit requirements. Lawmakers tried to abolish the requirement under the former governor Mary Fallin, but she vetoed the legislation. Schick came into office voicing his support for eliminating the permit requirement. So they have turned around and he said, I think it's best defense for a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. So obviously he's toting that one-liner. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, I'm all for small government. I think if you have a gun permit, then you don't need a concealed permit as well. I think that's kind of stupid, really, to be honest.
I can get behind that one.
Yeah, like if you've got enough,
and it does make a lot of sense too.
Yeah,
a good guy with a gun is going to be the best defense. Absolutely. I mean, if the cops or other people don't have a gun, the guy with the gun, he has a force multiplier that's way above what anyone else can use to stop him.
True. So yeah. Family clears Joe Biden, or Creepy Joe, to run for president in 2020. So former Vice President Joe Biden said Tuesday his family voted in support of another run for president in 2020. From being pushed, prodded by my son Hunter and my wife Jill and my daughter. We all had a family meeting with the grandkids too. There is a consensus that they, the most important people in my life, want me to run, Biden said. Biden discussed the possibility of running for president during a 4-hour conversation with historian John Mitchman, I might be mispronouncing, on Wednesday. He said that his children and grandchildren are not naive about facing public campaign scrutiny. Joe Biden running for 2020. Thoughts?
I don't know. That's an odd one. Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Okay.
Running for 2020. That is really weird. Not unexpected.
Yeah, very weird.
He was Barack Obama's right-hand man.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, he also...
Yeah, I don't know what to say about this. I don't know much about him.
He had a very, very low poll numbers before Barack Obama came along and scooped him up. So Barack Obama literally went through and made Joe Biden the person that he is, so to speak. So whether he can do it without Barack Obama, that would be interesting.
Yeah, that's true. So, he's leaving the nest. Let's see if he can fly.
Yeah, I think he's going to fall flat on his face, but anyway. Gloria Steinem, I'm getting that name wrong, compares pro-life movement to Nazism. Hitler campaigned against abortion. Left-wing feminist and activist Gloria Steinem compared supporters of pro-life movement in America to Nazi Germans on the grounds that Adolf Hitler was against abortion for certain ethnic groups. Guess what? Because he was trying to lead a war, you dumb, stupid something or other. Obviously Hitler was against abortion because he wanted as many men as he can. He was wanting his own army. Of course he was against abortion. Makes sense, doesn't it? You there?
Oh yeah. Of course he is, but I don't know.
Anyway, Democrats led House passed bill to criminalize private gun sales. So the House Democrats succeeded Wednesday in passing legislation to criminalize private gun sales. Yahoo News reports the legislation passed a vote of 240 to 190, with 8 Republican congressional members voting with the Democrats. One of the 8 Republicans, Representative Peter King, actually co-sponsored the bill. On Monday, News reported that Democrats plan on a floor vote of the legislation to criminalize private gun sales this week. They used a universal background check bill to accomplish the criminalization, pushing it to make it illegal for neighbor to sell a gun to a lifelong neighbor or someone to sell a gun to a friend they have known since childhood. So yeah, they've literally gone through and made this or make it seem like it was all about, for example, they made it all about the background checks. But when you actually go through and you actually break it all down, you actually get into the nitty gritty of it. What this bill actually does is it actually stops the private sale of guns. Personally, I think this is disgusting. I really, really do. I think at the end of the day, if you want to sell a gun to a neighbor and the neighbor has, for example, the permit and everything like that, you should be able to sell it. As long as they check out, as long as they're requirement and they're fine and everything, I don't have a problem selling a firearm to a neighbor. This is ridiculous to me, if you ask me. But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
This is absolutely ridiculous. They just keep going with the gun control. Yeah. They're not going to stop.
No.
Lobbying is a problem. I know that lobbying is a problem in America. But I would have nothing against the NRA starting to go a bit more offensive on this. Take the offensive on this. They really need to stop this.
Yeah. Yeah, look, at the end of the day, obviously, look, yes, there is a lot of lobbying that goes on from the other side, which is funny because they always go on about, for example, the Democrats with their lobbying. I might know why my internet's playing up. Guys, give me a sec because...
I know. I'm doing the best. Like earlier, this story in specifically, I really struggled with this one actually.
Okay. Is that any better?
It seems pretty good.
Yeah. Let's just see how it goes. But yeah, so my VPN was up and running, and I don't know if that was maybe causing problems. So I just disconnected it for now. But yeah,
I can already tell this is so much better.
Well, give it time. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, so the House Democrats basically want to go through. They tried to sneak this private gun sales through with the bill regarding, for example, background checks. But to be honest, this bill had very little to do with background checks. It was more about private sales. And it's sort of like the, hey, we support background checks. But by the way, we're also going to go through and get rid of, private sales of guns.
Well, private sales, I think, is what probably would take out more than half of total gun sales, wouldn't it?
I don't know about half, but there'd be a large portion. I'd say still a minority.
I've had American friends tell me that in some states you can trade guns like baseball cards.
I don't believe that. I think that's a little bit hyperbolic, but
well, yeah, it might be a little hyperbolic, but you sort of get the point. Like private sales, I'd say that that's a big thing. A lot of people do sell each other guns. Like you can sell each other microwaves, and TVs. I don't think that that's actually a bad thing. And whatever. One thing I know that the Democrats probably are quite scared of, this is a real statistic, is that back in the old days, probably going into 1950s and 60s, the number of guns on average was one gun per individual. That like one gun per person in America. These days, it's around about 3 to 5 guns per person is the number of guns in America. But the other thing, this is the scary part, is that it's Republicans and conservatives that have all the guns. Yeah. On average, which means that basically it's at a point where it's like every every conservative has around about 10 guns. It's about 30% of the population has most of the guns, and they know it. And if something was going to go boom and crack in the American culture war, they know that they have all the guns.
So Obama has stated that 40% of gun sales are private, but
I wasn't far off.
He said 40% of gun purchases are conducted without a background check. This is obviously when he was president. But according to a study, 40% of guns are sold through private sellers. Now, first of all, the figure 40% doesn't represent new guns, but guns that are already in circulation, which is obvious because, they're reselling. The motion of 40% of new guns, okay, that's not what we're asking about. So, yeah, it's around 40%. So it's still a minority, but it's a large minority, yeah.
Yeah, so I wasn't too far off, around half. Yeah. No. The funny thing is that, of course, private sales is not going to be new guns. New guns is going to be, official sales.
Exactly.
But the stats that they have on it is, wow, like the amount of guns in America and who has them. It's a minority that has all the guns, and it's one particular side of the culture war that has the guns.
So Jeffrey is saying in chat, 20% of trade and shows use proof of right. Use proof of right is use proof of right to own, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah, so 20% is trade and shows. So that is only then roughly around 20%, from my understanding, that is sold through neighbor to neighbor.
Yeah, and a proof of right requires a background check, right?
Yeah, my understanding, yes.
So they're lying. So they're lying then. Oh, what a shock.
It's only really about 20% of gun sales that is actually done from neighbor to neighbor. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? This is how this works. They just whittle away at the gun rights. Little by little. 20% here, 5% there. Yeah.
We had it here.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Anyway, Olympics allows transgender athletes to compete without... Fuck my life, really? Let's start this again. Olympics... I can't get through this headline. Olympics allows transgender athletes to compete with women without having gender reassignment surgery.
Well, there goes the Olympics.
Okay, women, this is what I want you to do. Don't bother doing the Olympics anymore.
Well, it's an unfair playing field. I mean, isn't everything about athletes is having fairness? It's, you do weigh-ins, you do blood checks, for doping. All these things are done for the... Oh, God, this is terrible.
This is basically going to eliminate females from the Olympics.
Yeah. It's actually kind of funny how that happens. Feminism is killing women's ability to actually compete. It's funny.
Yeah. Like, they're literally turning around saying that, like, for example, we just had cyclists win a cycle race. both first and second place were transgender males to females. We have we have wrestlers over in the United States who have gone through and have wrestled each other, and the women were complaining about the guy winning, sorry, the transgender winning all the time, and he, whatever it may be, was beaten this year by another transgender. So the first and second place in the wrestling was also gone to the transgenders. We have
something.
Sorry.
Have
also,
you ever actually?
Hang on. Also, I want to get this example out. Also, waitlisting for the New Zealand. That was also transgender who won that, and also the athletes who went through and ran and won first and second place at the Connecticut State Indoor Track Championships were both transgender. Do you not see the fucking problem here?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, yeah, not you. I was talking about them. But yeah, what were you going to say, sorry, mate?
Yeah. Here's the thing. Have you ever actually watched one of these fights when they have a transgender woman against a biological woman?
It's brutal.
Yeah, I almost feel tears welling up watching her get the living crap beaten out of her. It looks like she's being beaten up by a, like if she's like a, battered wife syndrome or something. It looks grisly.
Yeah. I can't remember who it was that turned around and actually coined this phrase, but actually said, quote, transgender women allow women to be actually beaten up by ex-guys, whatever you want to say. Let's, for the sake of the YouTube channel, let's call them women, all right? Because I don't want to get fucking taken off the internet. But let's say they're women. That these transgender women are legally allowed to beat biological females. You are literally advocating for beating women.
Well, their hands are... See, the grip strength on average for men is twice that, and their hands are on average about not double the size, but it gets close sometimes. And it's just the force of the impact and the size of the impact surface is just so much that, and obviously biological women having a smaller frame and a slightly smaller face, it's just grisly to see that. I've watched a couple of these fights. It's not cool, man. It's really bad.
No, and I'm not going to really cover that story, so I'm going to close that window. But what I was going to say was, but at the end of the day, like, you go through the Olympics, right? All your track is going to be won by transgender males. All your weightlifting, your javelin, your discus, your running, your high jump, your long jump, all these are going to be won by by transgenders. You
careful there, buddy.
Yeah, but what I was going to say was, but for example, your gymnastics, your vaulting, all these sort of things are going to be won by transgender because they have more strength. What is a woman going to do to compete against someone that's had the benefit of testosterone through their system, let alone, mind you, the Olympics is actually allowing people to continue to have their nuts. Like, you can literally enroll in the Olympics and compete with women without having gender reassignment surgery. So you literally get to keep your balls. So you're going to have that testosterone flying through your system, whether you're on blockers or not. It's still going to be there. You still have the benefits of having it for your whole freaking life, or most of your life. You're still going to have that mass, the body mass, the muscle tone, the bone density, and everything like that. Well, what women just don't even bother competing anymore. Just turn around and say, what's the freaking point?
Absolutely. The thing is, even after reassignment surgery, it does take a significant amount of time for the body to start to atrophy down to more of like a biological woman, especially when you consider that, and we know this is fact, that in the womb there is a surge of testosterone that causes XY. During development as a child and adolescent, it builds the body up a certain way, and there are just skeletal structure, muscle structure things, the tendons themselves, everything is just larger and stronger. And I mean, I'm not, and I don't mean that like to be, you know, disrespectful. I'm just saying these things because of the truth.
Yeah. I don't know, girls. Girls, don't bother going to the Olympics. Really, just don't bother. Stay at home.
Just, especially in any contact sports, I honestly would say don't. It's for their safety, for the safety of these women in these sports. You don't do contact sports with transgender. It's going to... I'm waiting for a death, honestly, or some kind of horrible injury. But it's going to happen.
But it's not even just contact sports. Any sport where you have strength, any sport where you have any strength requirements, bone density requirements, you know, like long jump, high jump, you know, vaulting, you know, the one where the pole vaulters and stuff like that. You know, the discus, your javelin, your track, your running even. Your bicycle cycling, any of this stuff, that 95% weightlifting, you know, the 95% of the Olympics is going to be a waste of time for women to now go through and enroll in or to compete in, because it's going to be beaten by transgender women or transgender personnel, whatever you want to call them. At the end of the day, they're going to mop the floor. And guess what, guys? If you can't make the grade, claim that you're a woman. Claim that you're transgender. Get onto that women's team. Because I tell you what,
I actually think that's what's happening.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot easier. You're going to have a lot less competition. Shit, man, I tell you what, me, it runs like a friggin' duck sometime. I'm going to put myself down the Olympics and I'm going to claim that I'm transgender and I'm going to go and do the 300-meter hurdles. Because I tell you what, I would probably mop the floor. Even me managing to run like a duck or whatever it may be. You know, even if you're not in the top 10 for males. Claim that you're a woman and all of a sudden, yeah, baby! I'm winning the Olympics. Woohoo! You know, hey, that gold medal, still a gold medal. You know, maybe just scratch off the WO part of before you, if it says woman on it. Just scratch that off, and that way you got an award for a man or something. You know, like, it's absolutely insane. Do they not realize that this is going to kill it?
All about that inclusivity.
Oh, inclusivity, regardless of what it might do to the system and to the rest of the competitors. Like, even your diving, like, for example, like, you're going to tell me that males don't have a little bit of an unfair advantage on diving because they can bounce off that board higher and, you know, get that extra meter or something so they can do those turns easier? You're going to tell me that's not strength in, like, the leg muscles to bounce on that board so you get higher up, and the higher you get, obviously, at the end of the day, means that you have more time to tuck and turn, whatever it may be. Speaking of tucking and turning, transgender, yeah.
Oof.
But, you know, like wrestling, for example. Fuck it, don't bother competing. There's no point in women competing in any of these Olympic sports anymore.
Nah, it's just, they may as well just end it. It's been destroyed.
Dude, I don't watch the Olympics anyway. I think the Olympics is full of shit.
I've never actually really watched much of it. I've seen clips and I've watched little bits here and there sometimes.
I watched the female pole vaulters. That was rather gripping. But like I say, look at the end. But look at the end of the day. Yeah, as I was going to say, look at the end of the day. This is ridiculous. It's going to kill the competition, and the Olympics is literally nuts. In both senses of the words now. The puns in this priceless.
Oh dear.
I don't know. Guys, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Britain's economy set to boom and become the largest in Europe because of Brexit, which is ironic because wasn't it them telling us that the Britain economy was going to collapse because of Brexit?
Initially, there was some stuff going on, but it looks like it's bounced back.
Interesting. Seems like the mainstream media might have been full of shit once again. The public finances are on the mend according to a healthy surplus in January on booming tax receipts. Employment is at a record levels, with real wage growth at a 2-year high despite the global slowdown. Britain expanded 1.4% in the last year, recording just 4% unemployment. Yet Germany and France are on the brink of recession. The Italian economy is contracting, and European zone's jobless is twice as high. Well, yes, when you go flooding your country full of illegals, that subsequently is going to cost you some jobs, yes. Even the ones that don't want to work, even if you take them out of the picture. There are still people that will, obviously, who go through and work, who will take the jobs of the locals. Funny how that works. Yeah. Thoughts? Brexit? Good or bad for the economy? What do you reckon?
Yeah, it is good for the economy. And, you know, flooding a country full of migrants is going to hurt the middle class, the blue-collar workers, just all of that, yeah.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, I do think it would be great for Britain's economy to leave.
The other thing, and I suppose the other thing too is welfare. Obviously, the welfare system gets brutally taxed by having more and more people on it.
And at the end of the day, obviously, with Britain being able to make their own rules and stuff like that, obviously they can let who they want into their own country. They don't have to follow strict immigration policies or whatever it may be. The fishing resorts, they get to help manage their own fisheries and everything again. All this sort of stuff is obviously good news for Britain. So yeah, I do think they are definitely going to benefit from it. I think this whole Brexit will cause a meltdown was a lot of hyperbolical statements, trying to fear or trying to get people to fear the Brexit. And to remain in the EU. And I would suggest that a lot of these publications that were putting out this sort of report were a lot of the EU shills. Yeah.
One of the things that the EU does a lot is take away the right of self-determination to a lot of these member states.
Yep.
And, you know, as soon as you leave the EU, wow, you know, you can actually do things for your country that are good.
Yeah. Weird, isn't it? Alright. Oh, God. Alright. This story.
Oh, boy.
Are you strapped in for this one? Women smears... Yeah. You might want to take a seat on this one, buddy. Woman smears menstrual blood on her face to show it's beautiful.
Bullshit.
We have pictures.
Thank you. I really need to see this.
Yes, I'm going to, because if I have to see it, for the love of God, you have to fucking see it too. Hang on, guys. I'm sending him the link now. Check live show text. There you go. There's some pictures for you. There's the article.
Yeah, no, I can see it as well.
Oh, hang on. No, don't worry. Here's a better picture for you. There's that picture.
Oh, God.
There's this picture as well. There you go. There's a lovely picture of her riding Shameless and blood on her leg, including some lumps from, well, the blood.
Oh, the clots. Yeah, I know about those. Yeah.
Holy shit. Okay. Sex coach who was once ashamed of periods has taken to covering her face in menstrual blood to end the stigma around it. This woman is batshit crazy. This woman needs to be tested for parasites. This is literally mental illness. This is so... If this was... Star Citizen just got an update. Cool. What I was going to say was that, yeah, at the end of the day, this is mental illness. This chick needs to be frigging admitted. This is so disgusting. She is literally rubbing period blood, which is only roughly around 20% period, 20% blood, sorry. She's rubbing it all over her face. This is... Like, if you want to make an argument for it being like an I've heard some people like Elizabeth Bathory in history, she used to bathe in blood of virgins to sort of go through and to sort of rejuvenate her appearance and stuff. If you want to make that argument, then that would actually be like blood itself. But this isn't even that. This is period blood, which is 20% or so blood. Most of this is like lining wall shit. And this is what this girl is.
It's very smelly. I just gotta let you know. It is very smelly.
Yeah. Anybody that's been with a serious girlfriend knows how bad it can smell. But I was gonna say, but at the end of the day, like, this is so fucking degenerate that
It is.
What is wrong with people these days? What is your fucking mental illness that you would want to go smearing fucking blood over your face? Or not just blood. Like I said, I can get blood. Blood, maybe the Elizabeth Bathory thing. I can understand that. But this is fucking
just standard normal blood, like just normal blood you'd get out of maybe cutting yourself or, using a needle for. It actually just smells like metal. It's a very metallic smell. It's really not that bad.
No. Like even that, obviously, you go cutting yourself to smear blood all over your face and you're a little bit fucked up too. But I was going to say, but anyway, let's jump into the article. This, oh my God, this is so wrong. And the worst thing is that I've seen women laughing about this on like Facebook from like work. Women that I work with like laughing about this. I don't know if they're laughing because it's so fucking disgusting or they're laughing about it because it's so fucking weird or what. But this is mental illness. It really, really is. Jumping into the article again. Dimitri Ninks, 26, I don't know, whatever. Says it makes her feel powerful and regularly posts pictures and videos of her blood-stained face and body to Instagram. It's not just blood, it's period blood. She's removing her contraceptive coil at 21 because it gave her extremely heavy periods. I get that. When leaving her bedridden, the Californian, fucking had to be from California, didn't it? Fucking work that out. Has been experimenting.
It's always California.
Yeah. Does this girl own cats? Has this girl got that frigging bacteria in her brain that makes her bonkers, makes her risk-takey and stuff like that? That is what I want to know. Shove this girl in a CT scan or whatever it may be and find out if that parasite is in her brain, because I bet you find it is. But anyway. She says, our society teaches us that periods are dirty and inconvenient. Yes, they are dirty. They're periods. Ads about menstrual products talks about smelling fresh or making us cleaner, implying our body's natural functions are gross. I think that's a bit of a stretch, but anyway. My work as a sex coach largely focuses on where we hold our stories in our bodies. What the hell? My work as a sex coach largely focuses on where we hold our stories in our bodies? What? What society taught us about ourselves, what we learned about being women, assaults we may have experienced, what we learned about our bodies are capable of during sex. This to me smells, and I use that word very loosely, this to me smells of a girl seeking attention. She's not getting it at home. Some guy's not giving it to her. She wants attention, and she's found out that smearing blood all over her face from a period gets her all the free publicity that she can imagine. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I don't know. I don't know what to say about this one either. This is insanity. It does get her attention, and I think that's part of it. And, you know, maybe if you go through her Twitter, maybe there might be cats there that might help.
Yeah. Get a check for the parasite. Get this woman into a CT scan, like, now. Stat. Because I bet you find that she has a history of cats. And I have a cat, and I'm reconsidering my cat right now because I don't want to fucking go down this path. But what I was going to say... But, you know, like, at the end of the day, you know, like... Dude, this is fucked up. This is... When is someone...
She's not the first one to do this, I don't think.
I don't know. Guys,
I know this isn't the first one. She might be the most grossest one. Because, holy crap, there were clumps in that thing. Oh.
Like, if it was staged, if it was fake, for example, say she went to the Coles and got, like, meat that had blood in it or whatever, rubbed it all over her face. Like, because she wanted the Elizabeth Bathory trip. Whatever it may be. I would get that. I would understand that, right? Whatever. Floats your boat. But dude, this is fucking menstrual blood. This is shit that...
I would also have to say that to get that much of it for this...
She's saving it.
Yeah, she probably used a Diva cup. Probably to be able to collect it. And do you think this might be more than one period worth, you reckon?
Oh my god, I'm just imagining this girl. I'm just imagining this girl right now having a fridge full of period blood that she saved because she needed enough of it.
I'm sorry for putting that mental picture on there.
Oh
yeah, it's entirely possible that we're looking at maybe 2 to 3 months of the stuff.
I'm about to throw. I really.
Imagine the smell. Oh,
dude, this is fucking disgusting. This is.
Yeah.
This is literally.
And the thing is, bodily functions, they can be utterly disgusting. I mean, has anyone ever taken a shit?
Yeah. What's next? What are you going to start doing next, leftist? Rubbing shit all over yourself? Because it's refreshing?
No. Mix it together, period blood with shit.
You know? Hey, we can have some protein. Like, you know, like, I joke about, you know, like, girls eating cum and it's full of protein and stuff like that. I personally find that joke quite funny. But at the end of the day, I'm not suggesting, like, even rim jobs and like, people eating people's asses. I can't even handle that. Like, let alone, like, you know, like, how fucked up do you want to get? Like, you know, like, aliens. If aliens existed and they saw this story, they would be like, I'm sorry, these guys have, like, digressed. That we are going to come back in another 3,000 years because these people are freaking insane. Although, who knows, maybe the aliens do it too. But there's literally clumps in these images. Ugh. God, no wonder this. I really hope this girl is single because I want to know what guy is giving it to her. Like, yeah. Anyway, all right. Last story for the day. Let's change it up a little bit. Let's talk about something that's probably going to end the world and is still yet not as depressing as, well, the last story. Enraged. India deploys tanks on Palestinian border as tensions escalate towards a full-blown war. And sadly, I'm more optimistic...
Not Palestinian, Pakistan.
Pakistan. And yet, I'm more optimistic about this than the previous story. That is fucked up. But anyway. The potential for major war to break out along the India-Pakistan border continues to build after Pakistan said it shot down India fighter jets over the disputed border region of Kashmir. India confirmed only one downed aircraft, and Foreign Minister has also said that Pakistani jets was hit in retaliation, going down on the Pakistani side of the border, but was known for sure is that India pilot is currently in Pakistani military custody after his plane was struck. Amidst international calls for calm, led by both the US and China, the fate of the captured Indian aircraft pilot could be a key to whether tensions escalate to full-blown war. But it doesn't look like, but it doesn't look good. Although the early evening on Wednesday, there are increasing reports of tanks and heavy artillery being amassed along the border on both sides, specifically near the Pakistani border town of Chute, where videos appear to confirm major Pakistani army deployments. So, through Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan, and in a televised address to the nation, called for immediate peace talks between the bitter enemies, saying that better sense should prevail. India leaders and the public were enraged when Pakistan released a video of the detained Indian pilot, filmed identifying himself as Commander Avram Verman. I'm getting that name wrong. When interrogators asked... Yeah, the commander. When interrogators asked for more information beyond basic identifying questions, the pilot replied, "I'm sorry, sir, that is all I'm supposed to tell you." Pakistan's Information Ministry have also shared footage showing the pilot blindfolded with blood on his face. Hey, maybe he could go and join this leftist. In particular, footage appears to have been taken just after he was apprehended by the army and just after being beaten by local Kremishis. I'm getting that name wrong. When his parachute deployed and he landed on the Pakistani administrated side. So, thoughts?
Worrying, especially considering that what seems to be happening is that there are in fact forces piling up on both sides. It would only take a small match to set this off, I would say.
Yeah,
I'd say by now, I suspect if something was going to happen, it would have happened by now. But it's hard to get the news out of this because no one really seems to be reporting it much.
Yeah, I had to get this from Anti-Media.
Yeah, and let's hope that there might be some more information coming soon, because, I mean, between this and, look, we're in a state right now in the world stage that there's never been more powder kegs than right now in history, to be honest, between culture war, Venezuela, what's happening there now with Pakistan and India, the problems between Russia and America, China, America, everything seems to be just escalating.
Yeah,
it is a bit of a slow motion train wreck, but it is a train wreck nonetheless. And I mean, if we can't turn this around, if people in the world cannot turn this around, then there is going to be some kind of World War III. And it's not that far away.
And look, I was going to say, this is not anything to do with Trump or anything like that. This is just tensions.
To be honest, Trump isn't helping, to be honest with you. Especially with the Venezuela side of things, and that's pissing off Russia and China at the moment. True. Trump is not helping with this, especially considering this Juan Guaido guy. I mean, honestly, the Republicans and the Democrats both, they are supporting him. And he's not the legitimate president of Venezuela.
No, but Maduro cheated in the election, didn't he? From what I've heard.
Maduro might be in right now when he shouldn't. But the thing is that he is the previously elected leader. And I honestly believe that a lot of what's going on there is manufactured by external forces. Because at the end of the day, Venezuela has a lot of oil.
Yeah. And
Russia, and look, Russia, China are very pissed off about what America is doing right now.
But that said, I also understand, look, I don't support America getting involved in this Venezuela situation. But I can see it from Trump's point of view. He literally has this country, literally to the south of him, that is a socialist shithole.
Hey, look, that might be right, but it's just not his problem. It's nobody's problem but Venezuela's.
But when they start coming up to the border, that will be his problem then.
Yeah, but the thing is, history, is important, because the main thing around Venezuela becoming a shithole the way it is has a lot to do with the sanctions. Okay, and there are many things.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, no. They were blocking. Banks in America were blocking transfers of money. Venezuela was unable to purchase many of the things that they required to run as a country.
No, the reason why Venezuela is a socialist shithole right now. Hang on, the reason why Venezuela. Okay, go for it.
The one of the main things is that it is ironic to me that America wants to bring in food and bring in aid, like medical equipment and things. It's ironic when the sanctions blocked that from coming in the first place. Look, that's just my opinion, what I'm saying now. I know you disagree, but that's just my opinion on it.
Okay, the reason why Venezuela is a socialist shithole is because Maduro was going through and buying up and taking off all the private businesses from that's what started this whole situation, was them going through and repossessing all these businesses. That's what kicked it off. Maduro,
so
Venezuela...
the sanctions have nothing to do with it?
No.
Blocking purchases have nothing to do with it?
No, because that all happened after the fact.
Okay, alright.
It was Maduro fucking 10 years ago, or whatever it was, 5 years ago. Venezuela has been on the decline for 5 years now. This is not a new story. Venezuela going down the shithole path has been going on for years.
Okay, well, I'd like to see where sanctions haven't destroyed a country in the past, because that would be interesting.
Yeah. And look, obviously I'm not saying the sanctions help or anything like that, but dude, you have a dictator literally going through and taking over his country and literally forcing the election campaign, kicking people out of parliament who don't vote for him. Like, the guy is a corrupt motherfucker.
Well, have you heard of Abby Martin? because she's done very good coverage around what the sanctions caused. I'm just,
No, I haven't heard about it. No.
All right, yeah. So, information, because I've done some looking into Venezuela, and it is a big factor. That you know how like the banks have been attacking the alt-right. Well, this was happening to Venezuela. They were unable to purchase just basic things like vaccines and just for the hospitals, just basic stuff. They just weren't able to. Of course, that's going to lead to a horrible outcome for Venezuela. I understand that it's socialist. I know what he was doing. Well, the socialist systems. I understand this. But when you can't physically import and purchase supplies for your country, that is a big problem.
Dude, Maduro doesn't care about his own fucking country.
But he couldn't. Okay, if you can't import things into your country, then the people won't have that. And it's not then Venezuela or Maduro's fault. It's the sanctions and American banks' fault.
Dude, the sanctions in Venezuela, I've just looked it up while you've been talking, have been going on. The first reported one that I can see here is in 2018. US sanctions Venezuela, Trump speech at UN, right?
That's fake news. The sanctions go way back further than that.
That is the first time I am seeing the UN sanctioning under this new regime and everything like that.
All right. Just look further back into it. There's a lot more to it than just that. And there are sanctions that go back further than that.
Yeah, you probably go back 50 years and find sanctions then under different presidents. But we're talking about since they've turned into an economic shithole, right?
Yeah.
Now, what happened was, what actually did it was that the oil prices dropped. Venezuela's largest export was oil. They all of a sudden have all this oil that they were selling off, that they were floating their company with this communism, this socialism bullshit that they were pushing, right? And what they did was, all of a sudden, so like, for example, say these social programs at Venezuela, say, using figures, say it was costing them $300 million a year to run all these social systems. What was happening was they were making $500 million from all this oil. So they had a surplus supply. For example, using figures, when the oil dollar collapsed and people stopped buying the oil from Venezuela, and because the price of the oil went down, they all of a sudden, that $500,000 they had for all their social systems dropped down to about $200,000. So all of a sudden they're only getting $200,000. Hang on, let me finish. They're only getting $200,000, for example, for their oil. They got expenses of $350,000 for all their social systems. So the government then decides to go through and start repaying all these businesses, which is great unless you own a business. And the first thing all the business owners did was sell up and fucking leave the country. So now you have a country that has no money because of oil. The oil prices have dropped, which killed the oil market. You now have the government going through, pushing their social systems, costing thousands of millions of dollars more than they can already afford. So the government then start going through, repossessing these businesses, which all of a sudden kills small business, medium business, and large businesses, because the government can't run shit. And at the end of the day, you have all these government assistances or these government businesses, and yeah, the whole economy collapses.
All right. Now, my point here is when you mention the petrol dollar, the petrol prices going down, all these things, okay? I hope you realize that there's a big difference between what oil actually is worth versus the petrodollar.
Yes.
Because when Venezuela decides that, okay, America, you're going to pay us less for our oil because you just magically think that it's worth less all of a sudden, okay, because this also happened to the United... it's happened to other states. Saudi Arabia is one of them, but they sorted it out. But if they, instead of selling the oil instead of using US dollar, let's say that they want to sell it in a different currency. What happens when a country decides to no longer trade their oil in US dollars? What happens to that country?
So, say that again.
What happens to a country when it decides to no longer sell oil in US dollars?
Yeah, but that's not what happened here, dude.
Yeah, it is, because the Venezuela decided, well, if US isn't going to pay the price we want, okay, they can go and sell it to someone else. Now,
right.
Russia, there are many countries that buy oil.
Yeah.
Now, if the US has pressure on its allies, okay, to keep petrol being traded in USD, those other countries won't buy it either. But there are countries like the BRICS nations who will trade in gold. And you wonder why China and Russia are so pissed off about all this.
Because dude, China and Russia are pissed off because they... Gold. No, dude, Russia and China are pissed off because they have large investments in Venezuela. They've been buying...
One of which is trading the oil. They do trade using gold.
Because they can get their oil. Well, I don't know if they do it with gold, but yeah, they can get oil for cheap prices. So yeah, it's in their best interest.
Not cheap prices, fair prices. Which we know that if you trade oil under petrodollar, often the prices are not fair because they need to prop up the US dollar, and it's very, very linked with petrodollar.
Dude, you're still way off the mark on this one. You really are, because this collapse is happening in Venezuela. It's been happening for years. This Venezuela collapse, it's even happening. It was happening long before Maduro has actually even come into power. Like this fucking...
Well, you think these things happen quickly? They don't. That's another thing.
Like this Venezuela thing has been going on for over 6 years now.
Yes, it does take a long time to bankrupt a nation when you want to bankrupt a nation.
But the Americans aren't the one doing it.
Well, not necessarily, but the allies, the whole network of petrodollar is... It's just sanctions. It's blocking transactions. It's
but they weren't doing that.
Preventing the sale of their oil.
But they weren't doing that.
All right, they weren't doing that. Okay.
No, not at the time. No, they've put on sanctions since then because at the end of the day, they're trying to get them to stop being a bunch of communist assholes.
That's okay, but that has nothing to do with everyone else. If they want to be communist assholes, let them. It's okay if they want to trade.
Dude, he's starving his
resources
people.
In whatever currency
he's literally starving his people to death. And your response is, if you're doing that, that's fine. We won't sanction you.
No. What I'm saying is that letting countries do what they wish is one of the fundamental things about letting countries. All right, you can't say that it's good to do Brexit because it keeps the EU out of Britain's affairs, and then turn around and say, but it's okay for the US to get involved in Venezuela and destroy the country and bankrupt it into the ground.
No, I'm not saying it's right for the US to get involved in Venezuela. Don't go mixing my words. I think the US should stay out of Venezuela. I'm saying I understand why Trump is concerned. But what I was going to say is, but at the end of the day, this has nothing to do with America. This has to do with the fact that the petrodollar, the price for oil per barrel dropped like a fucking stone. And all these countries like Venezuela and all these sort of... It's not just Venezuela either. It's, for example, Venezuela in crisis. 5 reasons why this oil-rich nation is on the brink of collapse. Now, this is back in 2016. So, during the boom years of the 2000s, Venezuela repealed a windfall for its oil production. There was enough wealth, heavily controlled by the government, to pay for social programs and education and cut poverty rates by more than half. I'm going to put this article on the fucking screen so people else can read it. Even the United States, whose relationship with Latin American nations was icy at best under the late socialist leader Hugo Shiv, could be counted on Venezuela's biggest customer. No longer, Venezuela is a country in crisis. Tanking oil prices and failed economic policies led to bare shelves and supermarkets, a shortage of medical supplies, unbridled hyperinflation, and infant mortality rates so high that it surpasses even that of war-torn Syria. Now, the anti-government protests called for a general strike Friday against leftist President Nico Maduro. This is obviously the second president that's now trying to turn the country around, with more demonstrations promising blah, blah, blah. This is all about tomorrow.
I'd like to just say the hospitals not having those resources because the banks in America were seizing and preventing them from purchasing the supplies of which they could buy. They
weren't. No,
they
because
were.
They weren't.
Okay.
They couldn't afford to buy the medicines.
No, they could. They just weren't able to.
Dude, they had no money.
Doing so.
They had no money. Okay. What were they going to buy it with?
Okay.
Like, this video that you've watched on this, you need to go and check, because I bet you find that this person is a soft communist. And that would be my explanation. People that tend to make an excuse for Venezuela, tend to want to blame America for this situation, are normally communists. But what I was going to say was, at the end of the day, this whole situation is because they had all their baskets, all their money in oil. And when the price collapsed, because, hey, it's an fluctuating market, Venezuela all of a sudden couldn't. They had a socialist government. They had all these social programs, more than we ever did. And at the end of the day, they couldn't afford all these social programs with the money that was coming in, the revenue that was coming in from the oil. Because at the end of the day, guess what? The oil market crashed, which it does from time to time. And then when that collapsed, they couldn't buy food, they couldn't buy medical, and then people started rioting, and then people started eating animals in the streets because they didn't have food on the shelves.
All right. Let me tell you this one, because people in the audience can look this up if they wish. All right. There is Citibank, okay, blocked 300,000 doses of insulin paid for by the Venezuelan state.
Right.
Okay, this occurred in 2017.
Right. Guess when this financial crisis, guess when Venezuela happened?
What I'm trying to tell you...
Dude, 2013 was the start of the Venezuelan crisis.
All right, but it was paid for. 300,000 doses of insulin paid for by the Venezuelan state were not delivered to the country because Citibank blocked the purchase of the product. Okay. I'm trying to tell you...
Yes, because his people are starving. They're trying to put pressure on him to stop starving his people to death.
Oh yeah, but let's let them die of not getting their insulin. Bravo.
Dude, they're dying anyway. But do you really?
Oh yeah, this is.
Do you not realize? Dude, do you not realize at the end of the day that they're literally trying to put pressure on him, which they have been since 2013, mind you, trying to get them to stop going down this communist path, because guess what? People starve to freaking death. And all of a sudden he's like, hey, I want to buy medicines for my people, because all of a sudden everybody's going on about my people starving. And guess what? Yeah, the US turned around and said, hang on, let me finish. The US turned around and said, yes, guess what? Stiff shit, we're not going to give you the medicine because you're literally a communist asshole that is starving your people to death, and the only people that get fed in your utopia for communism is the people that pledge allegiance to you. And that's what he's doing. You know, the people that only get this medicine are the people that are his supporters. That's all.
You know what? What I'm hearing is an anti-communist agenda is gonna kill people because they don't get their insulin shots. But it's okay because we think that he's a killing his own people. Yeah, you know what? Whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, my policy is you leave countries alone to do what they wish. And if we really are going to go down this road, then we should be invading and taking over China right now, because the stuff that Chinese government does is worse.
No, I would actually say Venezuela is worse than China. I'm not impressed with China.
China, I think what China is doing right now is worse, but it's okay because they build our 1080 Ti's and our iPhones. I'm sure that's it. That's just my last point.
No, dude, don't paraphrase that shit, man. Don't try that shit with me, man. That's a lot of crap, and you know it. At the end of the day, the fact is that China is not as bad as Venezuela. He's not literally starving the 90% or 80% of his population, where Maduro is. And look, I'm not saying China's better, and you know my stance on China. I reckon all manufacturing for Australia should be done in Australia. I'm against all this iPhone bullshit that you just tried to spout. But at the end of the day, okay, what about Yemen? Do you not think that we should intervene with Yemen?
I don't think we should intervene with anything.
So we're just going to let the Saudis blow up Yemen then?
My stance is that the West should stay out of the business of other countries. Like those countries should stay out of our business.
Yeah, I totally agree. They should be.
You know?
But dude, you have a choice if you want to sell some people some stuff. Do you not?
If you want to sell stuff, then sell stuff.
Well, that's what the US was doing. Where do you think he was buying the medicines from?
Well, he was buying. Are you talking about the insulins?
Yeah. No, it wasn't insulin.
Yeah, it was buying from the US.
Yeah. So your argument is that the US should sell him the insulins or the medicines
if you pay for it,
regardless of whether they agree with him killing thousands of people a day.
That's okay. What happens in his country is their problem. But if he paid for a product, it should be delivered.
But this is the thing. He didn't pay for it. They blocked the money. They didn't want the money.
No. It was paid for. They took the money and didn't deliver.
But like I said, as far as I know, Citibank is not American anyway. Citibank is European.
They're an ally, and the Citibank in question was in the US. But the Citibank in question was in the US border. So it was a US branch. So
it's a branch of a large conglomerate that was not even American, right? Then you don't think, dude? I want to link to this person's YouTube channel that you watch this video on, because I want to go through their history, and I bet you find there is a sentiment of anti-American history or anti-American sentiment, and I bet you find they're a soft-core communist.
It is entirely possible. But I mean, the reporter used to work for RT for several years.
Oh my god, dude! You mean the Russian state television? The ones that are hugely invested in Venezuela.
Yeah. She then left RT because she felt that RT was didn't let her speak about certain topics, as in censoring her. So she left. And at the moment is in fact independent at the moment. So she went from RT to Telesur, then no longer is at Telesur and is completely independent at the moment. It's Abby Martin.
Right. So we have a former worker for the Russia propaganda television network over in Russia.
She's an American.
Which, by the way, has huge investments in Venezuela right now, and is currently trying to get Trump to back off the said sanctions and said involvement in Venezuela. But all of a sudden, you think this is actually going to be subjective? You think that this report is subjective?
Well, I mean, whether it's subjective or not, I mean, if the facts are are citable and true, then I guess it really doesn't matter. I mean, when I see a transaction for medical supplies being rejected years before, And then they're like, oh, we're going to bring you supplies for your people. It's like, well, hang on a minute. That doesn't make any sense to me. It stinks. Because on the one hand, you block these resources from getting into the country falls into disarray, and then you're going to bring in those same supplies now that the country has fallen to pieces. I don't know. I don't like it. I think it stinks.
The country has been in disarray since 2013.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just look up the sanctions. Just have a look at the sanctions that the country has been under.
I did. 2016 is the first one I can find.
Before
2018.
that it was 2018. So
2018.
Yeah. There was. Yeah, they have no.
5 years after the country fell into collapse. You're blaming those sanctions.
The sanctions. All right. All right, don't worry about it. We'll just move on anyway. We've been arguing over this for a while.
No, I think it's important to have, because this is what we do. Yeah. We talk about this sort of stuff, and whether we get heated about it or not. Someone said in chat, Jeffrey said in chat, check Ron Paul. Yeah, and look, I'm not saying the US should get involved and lead an army into Venezuela. I reckon the US should leave them alone. But at the end of the day, I think the US also has a choice about whether they accept money from Venezuela, considering it's bathed in the blood of the people that he's literally killed, and by starving them to death. And at the end of the day, the US has a right as to who they buy or sell things to. It's like the cake. Does the baker have the right to make the cake or deny service? No, I think the baker has a right to deny service when it comes to baking the cake. I think the US has a right to deny service to these medicines from Venezuela. And if Maduro wants to turn his country into a shithole, which he's done since, well, he was in that power since, I think it was in 2014, I think it was. But at the end of the day, he has that right to do that. I'm not saying the US should get involved, but I don't think the sanctions... Look, they haven't helped the situation, sure. But they weren't the cause of it. This was all caused by them investing in oil, thinking they had this magic oil gold, and then when the pricing collapsed, them having a whole shitload of problems because they have a whole bunch of social programs that they could no longer afford, and it bankrupted the country.
Yeah, I am taking a quick look at this thing on the Ron Paul Institute. He does say that it smells very much of the goings-on that America has been doing it for years. The whole regime change thing that America likes to do. And when I say America, I'm not saying the American people. I'm being very specific. Certain people in the top, in the government, so on.
But if the Americans were going to do a regime change, why would they go and vote through a communist?
No. Look, I get what you're saying there, but let's be honest here. This whole thing around Juan Guaido, he is so mixed up with, like, for example, the vice president right now. Like, he's had meetings with him.
Okay, but you're talking about
the guy.
Yeah, okay, but you're talking about... Okay, so if people are playing along at home, he's talking about the new president that they're thinking about replacing for Maduro.
Yeah.
But my argument was that Maduro was the second president, right? You go on about the US getting involved and the collapse of Venezuela and stuff like that. They literally went from a socialist arsehole to a communist arsehole. That has nothing to do with America doing a regime change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it is... Look, the whole situation is probably a little more complicated than I think even I can entirely understand, and I will admit that I don't know everything. But I've been hearing, various things. Like the other day, I did also see this whole thing that Iran is somewhat involved in this. I don't know. I have to look into it a little further to get more context than I have now. I can do that. But I think we've had a great discussion today.
Like Hugo
right now.
Chavez was first elected in 1998.
Yeah, I was just reading about Hugo Chavez too. Yeah,
Yeah,
he was actually a populist, which is interesting.
He was a socialist.
No. Chavez was a populist who set out with an agenda to dismantle the oligarchy. For example,
He was also a socialist. He brought in a lot of social programs and everything like that as well. He's half the problem.
yeah.
Populist is left and right. You're not just right.
Of course, you can have you can have populist, capitalist, and populist, communist. Of course, yeah.
Yeah, like he actually brought in a lot of social systems, and that's half the problem for this.
Yeah, social. It's difficult because if things are going well with the economy, you can have some social systems in place to bring in education and fast track the nation into some kind of prosperity. Then you just scale back those social systems once the nation gets going, and then you just build up on the success from there. I tend to get a feeling that no country has ever been able to do this because just external forces, I tend to think that maybe there is and I know that sounds conspiratorial, but I noticed that every time one of these countries starts getting, their foundations under their feet, someone comes along and blows them up and does a regime change. It feels like that happens over and over.
Yeah, well, it says here, Hugo Chavez was actually a social democrat.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a revolutionary, led by the socialist president Hugo Chavez, has captured the imagination of people around the world. He brought in a whole bunch of social systems. Like you're saying, when you have a whole bunch of oil and everything to go through and to actually fund these social systems, it's fine. It's great. It's dandy. But the thing is that once the oil prices collapse, like what happened, then all of a sudden, social systems don't seem to work so well because you've got no way to pay from.
Yeah, well, but then again, it doesn't help when there are artificial restrictions on the trade of oil.
But they didn't have that.
There's a lot.
You keep saying that, but they didn't actually have that.
No, there's no. A restriction on selling oil has been there for God knows how long now. And it has to be traded in USD, otherwise,
And people have been able to trade and sell and buy and sell oil for countless decades. That is not the reason why socialism. It's not why the socialist shithole, is what I like to call it, Venezuela collapsed.
But let me paint a little picture. When your currency, let's look at Africa for example. You have I believe it's called baht. Is it baht? No.
Yeah.
Okay, baht, right? If you have oil, or Indonesia, when you have oil, you have baht. Now the international monetary system, has this thing where your currency gets devalued or it goes up and down, right? In comparison to the US dollar, in comparison to anything. The oil, however, has to be traded in US dollar because that's what America says everyone has to do, and everyone just does as they're told, apparently. Now, if your baht is artificially, in some cases, tanked, and you can look at many times when investors, such as Soros or anyone else, comes along, and does something and causes the currency to collapse. Now, you can't afford to either purchase anything, and if you try to do exports, sure, your goes down, you get more because you're selling, but the currency in which because you have to buy US dollar first to then trade it. You see what I mean?
So here's the problem. Sorry.
No, this is important to understand. If your currency is rubbish, technically, selling the oil means that you get a huge amount of money come in, but you can't buy it in your currency. You have to trade it the purchase, you have to convert your currency to US dollar and then trade it, which means that one way or another, you're screwed. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, but here's the problem. Venezuela only moved away from the petrodollar in 2017, 5 years or so after their economy had already collapsed.
Yeah, they were. I don't know why they took so long to do that. I'd say that they were trying to work around the sanctions or whatever was going on with them.
What I would suggest, what they're trying to do, is that they had huge amounts of debt that they couldn't pay back when it came to the US dollar and selling their oil and stuff like that. And they thought that if they moved away from the US dollar, that then they could then go through and use the yang or whatever and possibly get a better rate, which would then help them bring their country out of the brink of collapse. After that, then I would suppose what happened was the US involved thought, well, hey, shit, you're not going to accept the US dollar for oil anymore. All of a sudden, we're going to have to pay more for medicine, for our oil and stuff like that. So no, we're not going to fucking sell you the medicines. So the US then blows through and blocks these medicines being sent to Maduro. But all this still has nothing to do with why the economy frigging collapsed in the first place. The economy still collapsed 5 years previous to that, or 4 years previous to that, sorry, when it was because they had a whole bunch of social systems. The oil price, which was the US dollar at the time, collapsed. They couldn't make the money off the oil anymore. All of a sudden they had too much money coming in from these social systems, and it caused their country to go into recession or go into collapse, financial collapse. That's to me is seemingly what happened about this whole situation. You want to go to blaming the US for sanctions and stuff like that, fine. But at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with the actual collapse of the system in the first place. The reason it collapsed in the first place was because they kept trying to give people money when the country didn't have any fucking money in the first place. Well, if I have a bank account with, say, $5,000 in it, for example, and I start going out and giving $1,000 a week to everybody, and I'm only making $200 a week, sooner or later, that account is going to go overdrawn. Same as the country.
Yeah, I'll just sort of just mention again that it just seems interesting to me that every time a country is starting to prosper, they can start to, hopefully start transitioning away from the initial social systems that lift the nation. Before they can make that transition, they collapse. It happens over and over, and there's always some bad smell that just seems to always lead to external interference. I don't know what to say.
Well, look at Australia's debt at the moment. The Australian debt for the country is climbing at an alarming rate. And what do? We keep going through and we keep pushing through these social systems. We're giving refugees thousands of dollars a week because they're turning up on a boat. And the country can't afford it.
Yeah, our problems, I think, are different. It's based on the same sort of theme, social systems. But,
yeah.
I mean, Venezuela wasn't giving money to immigrants. So.
Yeah, well, the reason why these countries don't get a chance to turn away from these social systems is, guess what? Because these social systems bankrupt your country.
But like I said, there seems to always be some kind of external causes that often lead to these collapses.
Well, maybe it's the social systems that are causing the collapse in the first place, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Maybe giving all these people all this money because they want to sit on their ass and not get a job is the problem that is actually collapsing the government in the first place. That would be my argument. Is
maybe one day we will be able to see a country like Venezuela do these things and collapse without any external interference being shown. That would be interesting for me to see. I'd like to see one fail where there wasn't any kind of
but
thing
there
going
wasn't
on around.
in this. There still isn't. The reason why they collapsed was because the US, the oil dollar, or the dollar per barrel of oil was not worth as much as it was, and guess what? They were still paying out all this money hand over fist to go through and to actually pay for all these social systems. You keep wanting to blame some outside factor. Guess what? It's the fucking social systems that did it.
Okay, let me ask you this. Why did Saudi Arabia not collapse when the petrol went lower, the price?
Because they sold more. They increased their production.
But Venezuela has more oil than Saudi Arabia ever did.
Yeah, but they didn't increase their production.
No, they literally had more oil. Like
yeah.
Venezuela is the richest country in the world.
But Saudi Arabia also has the benefit where they're not only just oil barons. Yeah, they make a lot of money off oil and stuff like that, but they also sell guns, they sell military equipment, they have a wide range of investments. Venezuela only had one, oil.
Those things. It's maybe nothing to do with their relationship with other countries and not being targeted for sanctions or other issues.
They didn't have any sanctions at the time, dude. That's what I'm trying to say to you. This person that told you all this is full of shit.
Yeah.
They're trying to blame the US for something that... Look, like I say, I'm not the US's biggest fan. Not normally, anyway. But at the end of the day, to me, this has... Like, people that want to blame the US for this crap really had nothing to do with it. The US... It might not have had the best result or the best relationship with Venezuela because, hey, the guy was a bit of a dickhead. Guess what? Good-o. But at the end of the day, there was no problems with the US buying the oil. There was no problems with their trade with oil or anything like that. Soon as that oil price drops, all of a sudden, that's when they had a frigging fit. That's when all of a sudden Venezuela went into recession. And all of a sudden, people started eating rats. It's convenient to me that oil price per barrel drops, Venezuela goes into recession. It's like their only primary production might have been oil. And it's like, yeah, because it was. That's all they did. They didn't sell weapons. They didn't sell guns. They didn't have any other major export except for oil. And that the only export they did have, the oil, was worth literally 1/10 or whatever the fuck it was at the time of the collapse. Like, yeah, that's going to cause problems when it comes to the oil. If your oil dollar drops or dollar per barrel drops, and all of a sudden that's your only export, that's going to cause problems, regardless of how much oil you can make or how much oil you can sell or whatnot.
Yeah. It's a factor. Obviously, it's a factor. What you're saying is not untrue. I would say that there's more to it than just that, and
I can look. Let me actually look it up. I can actually tell you when the price of oil drops. So here's crude oil prices for the Nasdaq, right? Prices dropped. Holy shit! Did it drop? All right. Sorry, I just saw the graph. That's over the past 3 months. We want to go back up to 5 years. Okay, so the oil prices dropped, and I'm going to put this on the screen actually so people can see it. And
Jeffrey Rudolph says, "Your homework includes Libya. Good discussions. You both debate well. Work it." I'll work it, girl.
So okay, so I've also given you the link, right? That'll give you the exact. Yeah. That'll give you that. Now, if you look at that, you tell me where you think Venezuela might have collapsed.
Let's see here. Commodities, latest crude oil prices. All right, I'm just loading it up now.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see it on your screen there.
Yeah. But you see how much the price dropped. It dropped from literally $110 a barrel At its lowest, it was down to $30 a barrel.
Yeah, I can see the crash go from 110 to about 50, and at its lowest point, it hit 30. I can see that too.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah.
The thing is that the price of the barrel, it's tied to the USD, and that's something that I don't like, and I do see a lot of problems with that too. I know you're right about that. You're right that the price dropped. I just complain about another perspective of it as well.
Like if you go back 6 years, you notice that the price market before that was on its way up, and it was basically like I just went back 6 years. Let me go back 7 years actually, and you can see that it's like it's pretty steady, but it's still slightly climbing. It didn't crash until about 5 years ago. Like here's 7 years on the screen now. You can see it's somewhat stable. It goes up, it goes down. It's a bit like Naughty Girl's knickers, but at the end of the day, it's generally stable until about 5 years ago, and that is when it tanked. It fucking tanked so hard. Like,
yeah.
Like it was around somewhere around $105 to $110 a barrel. And you know, like I say, if you've got systems and stuff like that where you go through and you're funding and you can make $110 a barrel of US and you're pumping out all this oil, and all of a sudden, you know, for example, because it costs you to obviously bring it out of the ground and stuff like that, it costs to yeah, there's obviously expenditure and everything like that. And all of a sudden it goes from 110 down to $30. Like, dude, let me put it to you this way. If you could buy a graphics card that was $110 and it dropped down to 30, would it be a good deal?
Well, yeah, like it depends if you want to sell it or not. If you want to sell it, yeah, so that's going to suck.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly, and that's
look. I know what you mean. I know what you mean here. There are factors in why why petrol tanked like this. I believe it was also related to, I think they call it like a second economic slowdown. I think it was part of it.
Yeah.
There were many factors as to why it dropped, and then there are questions as to why some countries suffered far more than others. But there's a lot of things to it, and I don't know everything. You know, I don't know everything. You know, so I can point at it and go, this stinks, and look at this and whatnot. And sure, you know, there are many things about this that I find fishy, but there are going to be times when I'm just going to have to bow and just go, yeah, you know, I mean, this is true. It tanked like this. It is going to hurt Venezuela when it tanked like this.
What I want to know is that graph. Sorry, that graph below. So you see on the screen, or well, on your screen too, that there's the graph with the price. The one below it, is that the supply and demand?
You know, I don't know. Let me just.
Because
that's volume.
Yeah.
That's volume.
Because
yeah,
that means
so that's the amount of oil being produced, isn't it?
Produced, or even, for example, being sold.
Consumed. Yeah, the amount that's being sold. See, when it goes down, the amount of volume goes up. That's interesting.
Yeah, which makes sense because supply and demand.
So when it dropped to 250, it almost doubled in consumption at the same rate. That's interesting.
Yeah, because
so you just produce more and you'll make the same amount of money. And I wonder, did Venezuela produce more, or did Venezuela be unable to produce more?
Well, by that time, I think they were screwed.
Probably.
Yeah. They'd already taken the large dildo up the butt, and they were already reeling from it, so to speak. Like, you know, like what year was it that sort of... It doesn't really say years, so it's hard to tell. But, you know, like, for example, like... Let me go back to 5 years. So,
I will just have to say that I will have to go in about 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, we're wrapping up now, actually. Okay, so it looks like when it dropped to the lowest price was 2016, after 2016, actually. So, like, March of 2016. Venezuela was already screwed by that point. Even in 2015, when the price was going down, that was sort of, like, even post-collapse. Like, the government was already on its way downhill since then. They've been going down since 2013. So, you know.
Yeah.
So 2013, it was still good prices and all that for the oil. But I'm guessing they were spending a lot of money on social programs too. But anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, we should probably let you go. We should probably wrap this up and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on Venezuela? Do you think it was socialism? Do you think it was the production of oil? Do you think it was them going through and producing not enough or too much oil? Or do you think it was the fact they just weren't making enough money off the oil they produced? Or do you think it's the other side of the argument? Do you think it was some third power, some world power, some country collapsing the government, trying to cause the government to go through and do a regime change? I don't see it, but I'm open to suggestions. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Also, what are your thoughts on period blood painting? I don't want to know about that one, actually.
Oh, dear Lord.
Or what
awful.
What do you think about Michael Cohen? Do you think at the end of the day that he's just been sold out? Do you think that they might have turned around and maybe said to him, "We'll make you enough of this to get the reviews"? Personally, I reckon he's been told to say these talking points. We can get these in sound bites. We can run it all over the mainstream media, and we'll give you a deal when it comes to you. We'll look after you, Michael, when it comes to your indictments. But I don't know. Apart from that, anything you want to say before we wrap up? No. No.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, that sounds great. I don't have anything else to add. I thought this was a great little chat too.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, apart from that, just before we go, we should probably let new people know. Do we want to do that thing tonight with the Joe Rogan thing?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we will do it.
Okay, so tonight, Bernardo or Satellite and me are going to go live on the gaming channels. I will put up a very quick video telling you guys, obviously, at the time that we'll be going live, and these are the channels you should go and check out, which means I have to do more work today. Yay! But yeah, and we're going to be going through, we're going to be playing games, and we're going to be talking about Joe Rogan. We're going to be playing clips of the Joe Rogan podcast, and we're going to be discussing the certain points. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. We're going to be talking about Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, while I play Star Citizen and he plays something else. What are you going to play? Any ideas?
I'm not sure yet. Maybe Red Faction Guerrilla Remastered, though I'm thinking that might be a bit too fast-paced to pay attention to what we're supposed to be doing, which is talking about this. So, I don't know, maybe something a bit more slow-paced, maybe Factorio, Space Engineers, maybe even, I don't know. There's a few options I've got there.
True.
This week is very exciting. There's a couple of major updates coming out to some games, so I'm like, ooh, yeah.
Yeah, and also at the end of the day too, also, I know we haven't read out Jeffrey's comments. We have been reading them, Jeffrey. But yeah, but at the end of the day, yeah, he's got to wrap up, and I've got work to do now, apparently. But like I was going to say, yeah. But like, yeah, look, at the end of the day, there's a few updates coming out for Star Citizen as well this week for me. We're getting 2.5, which is ArcCorp female characters, and flight model, which is obviously very interesting. So yeah.
But Flat Earth model.
No, flight model.
Just laughing. So yeah. The amazing thing about Factorio is the long-awaited 0.17 update.
All right. What's that got mostly in it?
The custom. It's going to have the new custom engine, fully completed with all of the with all of the advancements in getting the game to just run better, especially with things that kill performance. Having a lot of belts. I mean, they've already done a lot of work on the belts, but improving that. Helion, I'm still waiting on that one, but there's some rumblings about an update soon there.
Yeah.
And then Space Engineers is going out of. Sorry?
I was just literally checking Helion as you were saying that, actually.
Well, Space Engineers is going out of early access. They're going gold this week. They said on the 28th, and they're late as usual. And so is Factorio. Factorio said it was going to be early in the week. And it's like, no, it's Friday. We haven't seen it drop yet.
Oh, wow. Helion has a roadmap. I never knew about this.
Oh, yeah, they have a roadmap.
Yeah. So they're updating mining, they're doing degradation factoring, heat, radiation, basic ship-to-ship combat, atmosphere harvesting. They're also talking about the economy and stuff like that. So, cool. Yeah.
Fun,
cool.
Huh?
Yeah. All right, guys. We should wrap it up because he has to go because his kid's going to be home soon. But later tonight, probably in about 4 hours or so, I would say. 3-4 hours. But I will put up a video on this one to let you guys know that we are live on the other gaming channel. It's Gamers Cafe for me, Bernardo for him. Links are in the description below. Go subscribe, click that bell, and you'll be notified when we are there. Also, if you have Star Citizen or whatever game he wants to play and you want to join with us, I don't have a problem with people joining me. I don't think you have a problem with people joining you either.
No, I'm cool.
Yeah. So, if you have the games, want to jump in, let us know. Apart from that, guys, we'll see you tonight. Apart from that, and enjoy. Have a great night, and catch us later.